The son brought his poor girlfriend home to meet his family, but the boyfriend's mother immediately kicked the girl out because she didn't like her poor family background and didn't know she was the president's daughter. This is a good story about life. Please follow the channel to know more good stories. The midday sun poured over the sprawling Montclair estate as Diana Holloway rushed between the gilded mirrors and the polished mahogany furniture, ensuring every detail was immaculate. The Holloways were not merely wealthy, they were legacy. For generations their name had graced the donor walls of universities, hospitals, and art museums. Today was an important day. Her son Ethan was bringing his girlfriend home for the first time. Diana had her expectations. The girl should come from good stock, be educated, polished, and above all worthy of their name. "Mother, please," Ethan had pleaded earlier that morning. "She's not like the girls you're used to. Just be kind." Kindness, Diana mused, was a luxury extended only when appropriate. As she adjusted the vase of fresh peonies on the grand piano, she heard the crunch of tires on the gravel driveway. Showtime. Diana straightened her navy silk blouse and forced a welcoming smile as Ethan strode in, casual in his linen shirt and jeans, his face bright with affection. Beside him was a girl, young, petite, and modestly dressed in a simple white sundress. No designer labels, no diamond earrings, just a plain leather satchel hanging from her shoulder. Her eyes, however, struck Diana. Large, dark, and unsettlingly confident. "Mother, this is Liana," Ethan said, his voice thick with pride. Liana stepped forward and extended her hand with a warm, genuine smile. "Mrs. Holloway, it's an honor to meet you." Diana took her hand briefly, noting the faint calluses along the girl's palm, manual labor perhaps. A silent judgment settled in her mind like dust. "Welcome to Montclair," Diana said coolly. "I trust your journey was comfortable?" Liana nodded politely. "Very much so, thank you." Diana led them into the drawing room, where an elaborate tea service had been laid out. Crystal clinked softly as she poured. She made small talk, fishing skillfully for information, where Liana grew up, a small town, what her parents did, public service. Not once did Liana boast or flinch, answering with grace, but offering no unnecessary details. Diana's discomfort grew. Everything about the girl was modest, suspiciously so. Tea turned into a strained garden stroll. Diana observed Liana out of the corner of her eye, the way she admired the roses without pretense, how she laughed easily at Ethan's jokes. Her unstudied kindness toward the household staff. Diana's mind raced. Was this a calculated act? Was Liana one of those gold diggers who charmed their way into affluent families under a guise of humility? Back inside, she seized her opportunity. "Tell me, dear," Diana said sweetly as they settled in the conservatory, "what are your career ambitions?" Liana smiled. "I'm studying political science. I'd like to work in diplomacy." Diana arched a brow. "A noble dream, but such ambitions often require connections." "I'm fortunate," Liana replied simply, "to have good mentors." Diana caught the subtle deflection. She pressed harder, inquiring about Liana's family, her upbringing, her financial situation. All under the guise of polite curiosity. Liana, however, remained composed, never revealing too much. Later, when Ethan excused himself to take a call, Diana made her move. "Let me be frank, Liana," she said, her voice low and clipped. "Ethan is destined for a particular life, a difficult life. It demands a partner who can match his responsibilities, his stature." Liana listened without interruption. "You seem like a lovely girl," Diana continued, "but you come from a background that simply doesn't align with ours." For the first time, Liana's smile faded. She straightened her shoulders, and in that moment there was a quiet power about her that Diana couldn't place. "I understand," Liana said, her voice even. Perhaps it would be best, Diana said, standing, if you ended things before anyone gets hurt. When Ethan returned, he found Lyanna gathering her things. I think it's best I go, she said softly, brushing a hand against his cheek. Confused and heartbroken, Ethan watched as she disappeared down the grand steps alone. That night Ethan confronted his mother. How could you? He demanded. You don't even know her. I know enough, Diana snapped. I know she doesn't belong in our world. Ethan's eyes burned with a fury she had never seen. You didn't even give her a chance. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Days turned into a week. Ethan refused to speak to Diana, answering her texts with monosyllabic replies or not at all. She consoled herself with the belief that she had protected him. He would thank her in time. One evening, as Diana attended a charity gala at the city's grandest hotel, her world tilted. The event was in honor of international diplomacy efforts. The keynote speaker? President Lionel Sinclair, leader of a small but powerful nation known for its democratic renaissance. The room erupted in polite applause as President Sinclair ascended the stage, but it wasn't the man that caught Diana's eye. It was the young woman walking beside him. Lyanna. She stood tall, radiant in an elegant navy gown, a subtle tiara glinting in her hair. Ladies and gentlemen, President Sinclair announced, beaming, allow me to introduce my daughter, Lyanna Sinclair, who will be spearheading our new global youth initiative. A collective gasp whispered through the audience. Diana's stomach twisted into knots. Her ears buzzed. Around her, heads turned and eyes widened, many recognizing Diana as the matriarch of the Holloway family. For the first time in decades, Diana Holloway was utterly speechless. The rest of the evening passed in a haze. She watched Lyanna mingle with dignitaries, her every movement graceful, her every word measured and intelligent. Diana's earlier assumptions shattered like cheap glass. She replayed every moment of that ill-fated afternoon, her thinly veiled contempt, her judgment, her cruel dismissal. How had she been so blind? Polina wasn't beneath their family, she was beyond it. Not because of her lineage, but because of her character. Worse, Diana realized, was the knowledge that she had hurt her own son. She had driven a wedge between them with her pride. Desperate, she sought out Ethan the next morning. He opened the door to her knock, his expression guarded. I saw her last night, Diana said without preamble. I know who she is. Ethan crossed his arms. And now you approve? Because of her bloodline? Diana flinched. No, because I saw her strength, her dignity. She hesitated, then added, and because I realized how small I've been. Ethan's anger softened slightly, but pain still lingered in his eyes. You owe her an apology, he said. Diana nodded. I intend to give it. Arranging a meeting wasn't difficult. Lyanna, ever gracious, agreed to see Diana at a quiet cafe, away from the public eye. When Diana arrived, she saw Lyanna already seated, a cup of tea before her. She rose when Diana approached, offering a polite but distant smile. Diana took a deep breath. Miss Sinclair? Lyanna, she began, I owe you more than an apology. I owe you my deepest regret. She spoke plainly, without pretense, laying bare her assumptions, her prejudice, and her shame. Lyanna listened without interruption, her face unreadable. When Diana finished, silence hung heavy between them. Then Lyanna spoke. Thank you for your honesty, she said, but forgiveness isn't owed, it's a gift. She extended her hand. Diana, humbled beyond words, shook it. Weeks later, Montclair was alive with joy. Ethan and Lyanna, reunited, strolled through the gardens hand in hand. Diana watched them from the terrace, a genuine smile warming her face. She had almost lost them both to her pride, but life, she had learned, sometimes offered second chances, if one had the courage to take them. and for the first time in many years Diana Holloway felt not only proud, but grateful. Grateful for the lesson she never expected, taught by the daughter she never deserved but had been lucky enough to find.